Wembanyama's Summer League debut is tomorrow, and we're all super excited to see if he's truly the prospect we believe him to be. Before the big game, I wanted to break down the last time we saw him in the LNB French League Finals, and in particular, the game where he struggled, Game 1. It was in this game that he was limited to 8 points, 7 rebounds, 2 blocks, 2 assists, in 27 minutes of play. His team, Mets92, normally have a pretty focused offense centered around Wemby, with him averaging 21.6 points, 10.4 rebounds, and 3 blocks in 32 minutes per game. Since we usually only see the big Wembanyama highlights, I wanted to break down how Monaco, the opposing team, prevented Wemby from getting going, and maybe that can give us some clues about what he may initially struggle with in the NBA. First play of the game. Mata, a name you might recognize, tries to face up on Wemby and attacks his lead foot. This is a great example of how Wemby is able to move his feet, take slight contact to his chest, and then recover really well for a block. Also, look how fast Wemby can start the break after getting a defensive stop. Really scary stuff here, and I think his defensive potential is off the charts. Here's an example of the struggles Metro had to get Wemby going. The spacing is just a little strange, where Wemby wants to post up, but another player is cutting up at the same time. There's just unnecessary traffic here. Metro still gets a lob for the first points of the game, but look at what happens to Wemby at the end. He gets shoved out of the play, and to be fair, physicality is an important question for him. Let's look at this matchup a little bit deeper. Monaco had him guarded by John Brown, who's listed at 6'8", 216. Given how tall he is, you'd expect Wemby to dominate this matchup since he's listed at 7'5", 230. But his frame is still extremely skinny, and Brown is just much lower to the ground, and that helps with establishing paint position. We'll see much more of this matchup later in this game. For screening actions, the Mets had Wemby use a traditional hedge and recover strategy with the big, which is sort of dated now. But I guess they're really trying to avoid the matchup where Mata isos on a much smaller guard. The main ball handler on Monaco, Mike James, is no slouch either, but I think I'd take Wemby in that matchup. I do want to see at some point how Wemby moves against smaller, quicker guards though. Here's Wemby's first shot of the game, a simple catch in mid-range, but not a really aggressive move. He spins as he drifts into a fadeaway, but it feels like he wasn't seeking contact or making any threat to drive in. Brown reaches in, which gets him to miss the shot badly, and this is the type of play that could actually affect Wemby's ceiling. He has such a size advantage that settling too much for shots like these can completely bail out the defense, which is a complaint that a lot of people have about Kristaps Porzingis. Later, the Mets run their main play to get Wemby going, which is a simple screen on the block, which allows Wemby to curl in for a catch. Good spacing here so that the pass is open and Monaco is forced to foul. Great news is that Wemby is awesome at free throw shooting, averaging 83%. He hits both of them here. Here's another example of Wemby not being able to hold his ground against Brown. He gets fronted and that force moves him backwards, and upon not having a clean post entry, the Mets offense completely breaks down. At the midway point of the first, we see how well Wemby can really play in a defensive system. He's first on Mata, who he leads towards the help. Then he switches to recover nicely on the first pass. Then when the ball is swung, he's there down low for the contest at the rim. Good contest here without fouling. Unfortunately, there's no box out, but it's not really his fault. Monaco then unleash a beautiful play where they involve Wemby in a screening action, but then they bring another man to screen him when he tries to recover. Remember from earlier that Wemby is planning to hedge and recover. Also, he's not really the type of player who can run around screens. And so the Mets are completely unprepared for this, and Mata gets a wide open layup. This is actually a pretty common thing in the NBA, where you take advantage of taller, slow-footed players in screening actions. This is an area where Wemby will possibly get exploited, especially to get him out of the paint. Wemby's real strength will be in zone defense, as well as potentially if he's able to switch the pick and roll successfully. Another attempt here for Metro to get Wemby going. They do that screen on the block again, but Wemby's cut is further out this time, leading to a turnover. And that's one issue I had with the Mets offense, which is that it's not really creative in getting Wemby open. At the 3:30 mark, Wemby's given a breather with the score relatively close, 15-11. he still only has 2 points and 1 field goal attempt, which he missed. He's subbed back in towards the end of the quarter as Monaco goes on a mini run, stretching their lead to 21-13. So finally, Wemby gets a good post catch, but Monaco's instinct is to instantly double. Wemby passes well out of the double team, which leads to a scramble for Monaco to recover. Great look, but they just missed it. If Wemby is able to force double teams like this in the NBA, it might be game over, considering he's already an above average passer for a big man, and he'll be passing to much better shooters. Wemby makes his first field goal with just 6 seconds left in the quarter, a turnaround mid-range jumper that banks in. Not the prettiest, but it just goes to show how easily he can rise up to get a shot off. And the quarter ends with the Mets down by 8. So far, they're having trouble getting Wemby going, and Monaco is looking really sharp. The start of the second, Wemby gets open after Monaco strangely double teams on a pick. The pass isn't great, which means Wemby can't get a shot off immediately, and he sort of gets an ISO post up from mid-range and overshoots it. Here's an example of the Mets pick and roll just not being very effective with Wemby. The guard here misses a great chance to get the pass early to Wemby going downhill. Again, there's another leading passing angle here that's missed. I have a feeling the guard play just isn't as good, and these opportunities wouldn't be missed if he's playing with NBA caliber ones. This is a cool play where Wemby plays help D and almost blocks a shot over this guy's back without jumping, and it's enough to force a miss. Later, he takes a bump straight into his chest and keeps his hand up, maintaining verticality. Mets miss a bunny here, then Wemby gets the board and immediately gets double teamed. Good kick out, just another missed shot. So, another example of Wemby's crazy attributes. A no-jump rebound, then he sprints to start the fast break. Head up and makes a good pass up the court. It's a little long, but still leads to a foul. Truly unicorn stuff. The game, however, is getting out of hand, so Mets run another one of their curls for Wemby. This truly epitomizes Wemby's game in my opinion, that he really plays like a guard in a 7'5" body. Normally, you'd go for a 2-footed catch here, bump the defender with your shoulder, and then jump hook. But Wemby goes for the off-foot hook layup here. And this is a tough move that guards like to use to mess with the timing of the big man going for the block. It's crazy to me that Wemby can even do this, and it almost doesn't matter that he completely bricks the shot. So at this point in the game, Mets are completely breaking down. Wemby for some reason brings out a drop coverage, and then his teammate assumes it's a switch, and Monaco gets a wide open 3. Wemby is pissed, and I can only assume they were trying to change their defensive scheme after the game was getting out of hand. Monaco attack Wemby at the rim again, even though he's proven they can't really finish on it. Although I wonder if this will actually be called a foul in the NBA. Side note here, I mentioned Mike James before. In the LNB, he is a bucket. He looks like Kyrie with this move here. Meanwhile, some more senseless turnovers from the Nets. Not getting Wemby involved is definitely a problem, but these turnovers really killed them this quarter. Wemby finally gets a deep catch where he fakes a shot to get it to his teammate under the basket. A great example of his IQ in passing, but they miss a bunny here. Mets run a play to get Wemby open and it leads to a post catch and double. There's a tough pass here given the traffic, and eventually it leads to an open look, but again Mets cannot hit. Monaco get the ball back, and Mike frickin' James, looking like the GOAT. Drop cross into pull up 3 here, then the announcer goes, Okay, so Wemby played the entire second quarter, he scored 0 points and only got 2 shots up. The doubling is really bothering him, and his teammates have not been making up for it. Monaco's looking sharp as ever, while the Mets are having a disastrous game with turnovers and easy misses. Down by 30, this is pretty much over. Third quarter, Wemby only plays 3 minutes. Not much eventful happens other than he gets his first 3-point look of the game. His 3-point percentage is actually really low at 27.5%, but I actually have utmost confidence that he'll get this number way up given his mechanics. Fourth quarter, Mets are still down by 30, so again, this is over. So let's just focus on what Wemby does in his last few minutes. Mets switch to a bit of a zone here with Wemby in the middle. I mentioned this would actually be a powerful strategy given they keep Wemby in the paint and prevent any sort of exploitation via the pick and roll. Also, Euroball doesn't have a 3-second rule, so that's a huge factor. But man, Monaco is still prepared for this, and they run an off-ball screen to open up a 3. Next is a pick and roll with Wemby. great setup where they screen his man before he comes up for the pick. The defender hedges, but then gets hit with another screen to get Wemby open on the roll. There's a foul here, but the pass just wasn't very good. Pretty high up, going way too fast. This should have been an easy catch and score, maybe even an and one. Later, Wemby gets a post up. There's initial action here that gets the defender preoccupied, but then his teammates clear out so he has room for a post entry. I really like how quickly Wemby gets into the shot, given that there's a help defender hovering for a double team. Again, Monaco does a similar play to attack the Mets zone, but the Mets close out better this time, forcing multiple swing passes. Finally, a Monaco guard attacks the paint, and Wemby pretty much covers two guys at once here, sticking with the big while still getting a hand up to contest the layup. Look at the initial jab to fake a commitment. This fakes out the offense, making him think that he'll have a pass opening, and that ends up affecting his finish. I don't think this would have necessarily worked against a better finisher, but this just goes to show that Wemby's a really cerebral player. Here's an interesting thing that happens where Monaco switched the pick and roll, which they weren't doing before. A small guard ends up on Wemby, and Monaco tries to recover by bringing help and switching back to the original matchups. But in doing so, Wemby gets really deep position. There's a nice pass here, and Wemby shows some actual big man offense with a turnaround jump hook. Monaco switched the pick and roll again here, which leads me to think maybe they're just trying this out in garbage time to see if it's viable. Obviously, this leads to defensive attention, where there's another defender getting ready to double, but Wemby keeps his head up as the Mets players cut into open space. They end up getting an easy free throw line jumper. Okay, here's Wemby bringing the ball up and attacking off the dribble, which leads to an immediate double team. He picks up the ball and makes a great pass to the cutter. The Nets initially miss a shot, but the double causes the defense to break down, and so there's an easy rebound and putback. Later, Wemby gets another attack off the dribble, and it forces another double. He passes to the wing for a nice three, but 7-footers falling like this always kind of scares me, let alone 7'5" players. And that is a ball game. Well, the game was pretty much over in the second quarter, but that was at least everything Wemby did in Game 1 of the LNB Finals. My overall conclusions is that the Mets were simply less prepared, and it makes sense given that they're the much younger team, and so they don't have the same talent that Monaco has. Remember that Wemby is still super young, meanwhile Monaco has guys who have played in the NBA and have played much longer, and for finals games like this, you want to have that sort of veteran presence. Also, it seemed that the Mets were kind of nervous. They were turning the ball over like crazy in the second quarter, and a lot of easy shots were missed. Next, game plan wise, Monaco had a legit strategy to stop Wemby. Play physical to deny post entries, and immediately double when he catches. Clearly, the Mets players couldn't punish the doubles, and in the pick and rolls, the guard play wasn't strong enough to either take advantage of the focus on Wemby or draw enough attention away from him. I actually haven't watched the other two games yet, but I know based on the score they're a lot closer, so I'm excited to see what adjustments the Mets made in the series. Let me know in the comments if you want me to break them down in a video like this one, though I might choose to just focus on what's happening right now, which is the Summer League. This is my first video talking rather than just text on a screen, so hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.